Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We've got a jam-packed episode tonight. Before we get stuck into it, guys, quick shout out to our sponsor, Grip Star Socks, the high performance socks of Australia. If no one's given them a follow, give them a follow. Guys, they're the best in the business, aren't they?
They are indeed.
They are, and they've signed some of the biggest names in the business of rugby league, starting with Reece Walsh and going down. They've really cornered the market. There's a lot of socks out there, but grip socks are number one. I wear them myself.
For those tuning in, we're going to run a competition for State of Origin. There'll be a Queensland and New South Wales pair up for grabs. So stay tuned over the next week or two because there'll be competitions coming for that. Now, guys, speaking of State of Origin, Origin squads. We've done a few predicted squads off air. Firstly, I'll start with you, Molly. Who's your smoky? For either side. Do you have a smoky that you think might make either side?
Yeah, everyone's saying Zach Lomax is coming back this weekend and he'll walk straight in. I really like Jacob Carras. I think he's just done everything right for the doggies. He's a try-scoring machine. He gets you out of trouble, gets you the hard yards. So if I had to pick one, he'd be the one. I'm pretty sure he's on the short list. So I guess it depends on how Lomax goes this weekend.
Yeah, and you've obviously got the combination with Critter on the right centre as well. So he'd slot in perfectly, wouldn't he?
Exactly. I think that's a big factor. They always look for combinations, and that's an ideal one. Right wing, right centre.
Yeah, there's a couple of players coming back this week to prove themselves. Lindsay Collins is another one. Coming back for Queensland. He's only got 1 week to prove himself. So we'll see what happens there. What about yourself, Dicko? Any smokies?
For either team or one in
team.
specific?
Or you might have both, mate.
I've got, probably not a smoky as such, but I've got the big red. I got him in the 17 for Queensland.
The Horsburgh, yeah. Mate, I've got him in the starting lineup.
I don't have him in the starting lineup, but I've got him in the 17. He's in the 17 for me. I've got a couple of, wouldn't say bolters, but a couple of surprise selections in my Queensland team. New South Wales, I really don't give a shit about, to be honest with you.
So you're saying you've got a few smokies there, mate. So is there any players like most people are predicting to make it who you think are going to miss out?
I don't have Ruben Cotter in my team.
Ooh.
I have him as
He's been struggling a bit this year. He hasn't been the same as he was last season, where he was just a dynamo. I don't know what the problem is there.
So there's a couple of ways that Billy can go here, Mole, is that I don't have Cotter or Fodawaker, but I am picking 3 guys. Well, no, not 3, probably 2 guys that are going to be a little underdone. So that it depends on whether he wants to sort of go down that path, but I can't not pick Harry Grant. And he's actually named in the squad this week. He's actually not named in the 17. So I expect him to play. I think we all think he's going to play, but again, if he doesn't, he won't get a game under his belt.
Is it risky, Billy, bringing him in? No game.
No, Harry Grant, no, not a chance. I don't think. I think he's one of the
I'd pick him. I think he's that far ahead of every hooker in the game. You pick him.
Couldn't agree with you more, Molly. There, he's got to be picked. He's the first name we write down. And I got Max Plath because I reckon one job for Max, just tackle anything with the blue jersey on, and he'll do it for you. So, but again, I don't know. I haven't looked. Well, I haven't looked at the Dolphins team list actually yet. I'll do it while we're sort of chatting. So, be interesting to see whether he's named, which I don't believe. Yeah, he's not named actually. So it'll be interesting to see whether he is in the extended squad. The NRL website doesn't give the extended squad. So if he
started real well.
Yeah, he did. As I said, I think Queensland need him. But if he doesn't get up, I'm happy for Cotter to slip in there on the bench.
Yeah. Look, I got a smoky for you guys. The hooker for New South Wales. If I was Laurie Daly, I'd be going Wade Egan.
Good player. Yeah, I rate him in the top half dozen hookers. I actually was going Appy.
Bring Appy back.
I reckon Appy to get the job done. He's the Harry Grant type.
Let's not forget Warriors are sitting in
out a dummy half. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I mean, I was quite shocked when I looked at the ladder as well. I didn't realise they're actually second.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate, they're going well. They're just the silent achievers. I got Jackson Purdue in my Queensland squad. So there's a bit of a bolter for you. I think give him some experience in camp. Kid's going to be an absolute gun. He was outstanding on the weekend.
And he's playing in the halves this week, so that adds to his value, his versatility. He could be the number 14.
Yeah, you're
Question
right.
for you is, with the whole Munster DCE, which is more than likely going to be the Queensland combination.
It will be the Queensland combination.
Ben Hunt's out, right? Who gets the 14? Do you give it to Dearden?
Tom Dearden. Easy.
Give it to Dearden?
Easy pick. He can cover any position.
Play hooker?
He can play any position, mate.
I'd have Dearden in the starting side ahead of DCE, actually.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about that today, and I almost talked myself into sort of rooting for that, to be honest. But I just don't know whether Tommy Dearden is ready to play as an Origin 7 yet. He's more of a non-organizer at Clubland. So,
the kicking game is going to be so important. I don't really want Munster and Dearden as my two options.
Well, I think for first up, he'll go with what he knows, and that's DCE. But you're right, DCE his form hasn't been great with this drama, this circus surrounding him. But in terms of New South Wales, I honestly think they've almost got too many players they could pick, which could be an actual detriment to them.
Well, that's always New South Wales' problem, isn't it? And they usually pick the wrong ones.
Biggest question is for New South Wales. Well,
the back row. It's the back row.
Does Turbo make the side?
Yes, that's the big question. And
what do you think, Molly?
And will he last the 80 minutes?
What do you think, mate? Do you think?
Not sure. Definitely a risk. Maybe play him on the wing.
I reckon he's 60%. I hope from a Queensland perspective they pick him and someone just smashes him in the first 5 minutes. But I hope Tedesco gets fullback for Tedesco's sake. And like put my neutral hat on, I reckon Tedesco's been going fantastic.
Well, that's a bolter right there. That's a bolter because we thought his career in rep footy was done. And if they don't pick him, I think that's more
disrespectful, you reckon?
Well, I think it says more about the selectors than what it does the you know what I mean? Like I understand that Edwards is the incumbent, but you can't the form Tedesco is in and the form Edwards is in, they're pales in comparison to each other. So I really feel like they've got to make a decision.
Well, you're right when you say it's a reflection on the coach, because Laurie Daly's come out real early, and I mean real early, when he first got appointed and said, you know, everything before this means nothing. I'm picking on form. So if
he's a new coach, so the slate's clean, and if the slate's clean, it's got to be Tedesco. His form, as Dicko said, is just so far ahead of Edwards. He is the best fullback in the game, and it's a hot field.
Well, if you look at it on the other hand, if Walsh was fit and on fire and Ponga was below his best, there's no way Queensland would pick Ponga at fullback. So you've got to pick your informed player, which is
why he needs to have a good game this weekend. Otherwise, I'm very nervous.
I'm not nervous, Kalen. He'll lift, mate. Mate, he'll have a team around him that actually knows how to play footy.
Mate, does he? He doesn't even want to play for Australia. He doesn't know whether he's Kiwi, bloody Australian. Mate, what's going on there?
He probably did, after Molly's video last night on his socials. He probably doesn't want to. He probably doesn't want to play rugby league. To be honest with you.
He won't want to be doing any press conferences anytime soon. That's for sure.
That's one of the great pickups of all time there, Mole.
That's brilliant. That's probably why they banned you. You know that AOB is getting sacked early.
Well, it got like 400,000 views, so it just would have taken one person to dob me in. I don't know. Are you allowed to run press conferences? I don't see why not.
Oh, well, that's it. No, I've got no problem with it, mate.
I think it's fantastic. Shout out to the women's State of Origin. Thursday night.
Yeah, very nervous.
Leading 1-0. Queensland would want to lift their game, otherwise we're in big trouble. Thursday night, I have a funny feeling it's going to be a 3-zipper.
Yeah, they're very New
South Wales were way ahead in Queensland, weren't they? And if they can play that well up there, chances are they'll do the same down here. And Queensland made one change. If I was Queensland, I would have thrown half a dozen of them out because they just didn't perform.
Oh, well, look, I agree with you. Dicko and I were at the game. And
The problem is, Molly, I don't think they've got half a dozen to bring back in. So
yeah, that is the problem. I tell you what, though, last year was a similar story. I'm pretty sure New South Wales smashed Queensland in the first game.
they did, yeah.
And I'd written Queensland off for all money. And somehow we won the series.
Yeah. It's
So,
I mean, we got a few of our Queensland have got a few of their best players out in terms of looming pregnancy, so which hurts a little bit. The depth, obviously, the depth in Queensland is not as good as what New South Wales, but to be honest, at the game, as you said, we went. New South Wales just looked stronger, faster than what we did.
It was a total mismatch, wasn't it?
It was. Trent and I said that to each
women
other a couple
against
of times.
girls, to use the men against boys analogy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Molly, though. It was, pales in comparison to the two teams for sure.
well, good luck to them on Thursday night. May the best team win. Now, Friday night footy, gentlemen. Newcastle Knights versus the Eels. The Battle of the Cellar Dwellers. Obviously, no Thursday night footy with the women's origin. So Friday night, we've got 2 games, Saturday 3 games, Sunday 3 games. Dane Gaggai's 300th game. That's a pretty big achievement for Dane Gaggai.
That is. It's a good achievement.
Before the I guess the teams got named, I dead set thought, look, the Eels are a proper sniff here. But now that it's Dane Gaggai's 300th, I'm leaning towards the Knights. What are you guys feeling?
I think it's the spoon battle come a few months early. Whoever loses, they can put their hand up and say it's ours.
Oh, dear. And who do you think that's going to be?
I think the Knights will win for the reasons you've said too. And I think Ponga knows he's got a lift. And I think Bradman Best too knows he's got a lift. So for all those
he's
reasons,
another one.
I think the Knights.
He's on the outer.
Well, the other interesting storyline in this one is the Dylan Brown playing in Newcastle, the team that he signed for. So are we gonna see a big game from Dylan maybe just to really keep the crowd off his back about the length of the contract and how much? Maybe that's a shout, but this is almost too close to call. I don't know. I think it's going to be decided by Moses and Ponga. Whoever plays the best, that team will win.
Because last week, dead set, like we all tipped the Dolphins, but the Eels were by far the better side. I don't know how they didn't win that game.
Yeah, there were some very strange games last week. I don't know what was going on. Must have been very soon.
Well, I mean, we were going to talk about it a little bit in depth, but there was 4 games that was 14-0 or more where the other team came back and won.
Yeah. That might happen once a week if you're lucky.
Well,
4 times. So.
Did you hear the Pappenhausen stat?
Yeah, I heard he scored more points than
every other team but his own.
Yes.
Oh, that's incredible. How embarrassing. How embarrassing were the Tigers, just by the way.
Yeah.
Well. Was that a I mean, we didn't really have it on the discussion list tonight, but is that a Lockie Galvin creeping up?
Well, you remember a few weeks ago I said with a team like the Tigers, they're going to have the ebbs and flows, right? And their really off weeks are going to be really off, and then they're going to come back and they'll beat the Bulldogs, in 2 weeks' time. So, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it. It was very poor, the scoreline. I thought, as Moley said, what do they average? Moley coming off a loss, the Storm, like 38 points or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as you know, Jerome's dad wanted to get our calls activated pretty quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. And 16 straight times they've come back after a loss and won. Because Bellamy would have yelled and screamed at them, as no doubt he would have, because remember last week against Canberra, they literally threw that game away and he was filthy. So
I couldn't believe
they've had a big week.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Dicko, Spoon Bowl, Knights or Eels?
Go the Knights at home.
Go the Knights at home. Now, Bulldogs versus the Roosters. Roosters coming off a bye. Are Dogs just too strong here? I tell you what, I gave them a gobful last week, and at halftime I was like, Treno's on something here. Sure.
I'm smelling an upset here.
Are ya?
I am smelling an upset here.
Okay. Robbo's been very active this week.
Dogs, tough physical game against Canberra. It takes a lot of energy and mental strength to come back from 20-0 down. And I think the Roosters are going okay. They're hard to beat. If you're going to beat them, you've got to play a really good game of footy.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they come out and win and Teddy has a blinder and Laurie Daly doesn't pick him, he's got rocks in his head.
There's also I got a big watch on Angus Crichton, mate, because I actually don't have him. I don't have him in my starting New South Wales 13. So it'd be interesting to see how they go. You know, a lot of players in both these teams pushing for selection. Reed Marnie's another watch. You know, if Harry Grant doesn't get up, I think Reed Marnie would probably get the 9 for Queensland. So, you know,
I'll tell you what, wouldn't that be a headline? The guy that does the jersey modelling for the New South Wales team doesn't get picked.
Yeah.
You know,
I can't agree with you. I reckon he's a form forward, Angus Crichton, and he's a proven origin performer. I reckon he'll be one of the first picked.
So you're leaving, I'm not picking on you here, Molly, but you're leaving Hudson Young out of the 13.
No, I might have him in there somewhere. I'm leaving Hamole out and
Okay.
a few others. I don't think Hamole's been up to it of late.
Okay.
But no, Hudson Young's got to be there too.
Yeah, I agree.
Jake Trbojevic make it?
No, not in my team. And I love Jake as a bloke, but I just think
Captain
Origin's gone past him.
Do you have
Who
Mitch
will get the
Barnett?
captain?
Yeah, do you have Mitch Barnett in your team, Molly?
Yes, prop.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Terrell May?
Bench.
Okay, all right. I've got
I've
Terrell and
actually
Payne
left
starting.
May out of the team.
You been watching any games or what?
No, not because I don't think he should make it. I just think, I don't know, Laurie Daly, something's telling me that he's not going to pick him. I don't know. He should, but I don't think he will. Because, I mean,
He's a bit of a risk, there's no doubt.
yeah, he's not proven. And look, it was, you know, when he played against the Storm on the weekend, he, looked like he got run over.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the whole team did, mate.
Yeah, but if that's Payne Haas, he doesn't get run over, mate.
No, probably. You're probably right. I might be
But
too early. Maybe
I'd pick
he's
him
in the
on
squad.
form, you'd pick him.
Yeah, I agree. Who
Nah.
cares? Let's get into something else. New South Wales.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, who cares about New South Wales? Hey, moly. So dogs, we're locking in dogs, and Dicko's going the upset.
I'm going the upset Roosters, mate. Lock them in.
Now, ball tampering. Let's have a brief chat about the ball tampering saga. Now, I had a few messages being a Penrith fan saying you blokes are, you know, cheaters, whatever. How about the Cowboys trainer? Hey? I didn't realise that the ref had actually grabbed the ball. I don't know if you guys saw the footage.
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
saw
saw
it.
it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, he's come over, grabbed the ball and thrown over. He goes, nah, he's just wet that. Isn't it interesting that the Penrith trainer videos came out and only a couple of days later, the Cowboys one came out?
Mate, you can be guaranteed that every trainer does it. Seriously.
But you can also guarantee it'll never happen again.
Correct.
There will be a rule come out this week. Nothing is more certain. Trainers are no longer allowed to touch the ball, let alone
That to me, mate, is a no-brainer, though, isn't it? Trainers shouldn't be touching the ball anyway.
Yeah.
What's their need? They've got ball kids and ball girls.
Yeah.
Ball boys. Well, I don't understand why the trainer's got to touch the footy. It's as simple as that. The problem is not the actual wetting of the ball. Like, it's a synthetic ball, right? So it's going to make zero difference. We've had that many games this year in the rain where players haven't actually dropped the ball. So the wetting of the ball makes no difference. It's the thought behind it. And the thought behind it is, I'm doing this to try and gain an advantage.
Yeah.
And that's not allowed.
Yeah.
So easiest way, as Molly said, was just to remove the trainers from touching the footy.
So not play on, bit of banter, let it keep going.
Nah, I just think we'll be talking about it again in round 26.
Yeah. It's dirty pool. It's not cheating as such, but it's not cricket, to coin a phrase, even though it is cricket.
Yeah, that's right. It's not cheating. I'm not saying it's cheating, but I'm just saying you're just trying. It's like, remember when James Graham ran out Vassoed up with Vaseline all over him?
Yeah.
And then he was told to stop doing that, wasn't he? Because he's trying to gain an advantage by players slipping off when they're trying to tackle him. So it's similar to that. It's very minute. It looks hilarious. It's stupid, but I mean,
I've seen some of the players' legs. They look pretty vassoed up.
Well, that's oil, I think. But yeah, players and coaches and stuff will just do anything they can to get an inch. And I just think the way to do it is just trainers can't touch the footy. You're not on there to touch the footy. You're on there to help your players and then get off the field. I think the trainers they're on the field way too much anyway. It's a joke how long they're on the field for.
I think a couple of weeks back, one of the players, I mean, detriment to his own side, but tried to kick the ball for touch and hit the train in the back.
That's right.
Went
Yeah,
back
I
in
think.
play.
That's the Broncos Bulldogs game.
It was the Broncos trainer, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Trust
Yeah,
them.
should have been a penalty, honestly. Should have been a
Yeah.
penalty.
The ref
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. He just made him kick it again.
Yeah. I hate talking about the AFL on an NRL podcast, but the AFL, the trainers and water carriers and that, they're not allowed within 50 metres of the ball. So get them
That's
off.
a good rule.
Get them off.
Yeah.
They don't need to be on the field. Simple.
Yep. Now, Saturday night footy, Dolphins versus Warriors. I'm smelling an upset here.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
I'm smelling an upset here. The Warriors, seriously, they're second, right? Kudos to them. They got a point differential of 1. You blokes know, like, seriously. Point differential of 1. 7 wins and 2 losses. Give me a break. Anyway, lock in the Dolphins.
That's all he's got. He's
That's
got
all I
nothing
got.
else. He's smelling an
That is
upset.
all I've got.
He's come up with a points differential.
Also, it's at Suncorp.
Oh, it is.
I'll take the Warriors. Luke Metcalf's just killing it. I
He's
think
on fire, eh?
he'll be too good. He's just can't do anything wrong at the moment.
Yeah, the Warriors, both teams actually played this ground really well. The Warriors travelled to Suncorp really well. But the Dolphins' last couple of games at Suncorp have been really, really impressive. Yeah, I reckon the Finns. Here at home will win this.
Fins up, hammer.
Yeah, Hammer. I just think the Warriors are due just a performance where they're just a little off. They've been up for, 9 weeks now? And they've grounded out some tough wins. So eventually we're going to get a performance where they just are off the pace, and I think this might be it. And I think the Dolphins are probably good enough to take advantage. Isaiah Katoa playing one of the best halfbacks in the comp.
It is worth noting James Fisher-Harris is back and maybe Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
You didn't want to lead with that before I gave him a tip?
I just thought I'd leave that up the sleeve, just to make the tip look more impressive when it comes off.
Yeah, right.
Cowboys versus Eagles. Now, big news out of Cowboys headquarters. Jake Clifford, see you later, son.
I think that's harsh.
Jackson Purdue. Yeah, it is harsh. Do you think so?
I think it's harsh.
They've been winning.
I think it's harsh. What do you think, Molly? I think that's harsh.
Yeah, it surprised me, I've got to say. But if you line the halfbacks up 1-17, he wouldn't be in the top 10, would he? So I think that's Todd Payton's thinking.
Yeah, fair call. Fair call. I'm pretty sure that they've only lost 1 game with him as well this season.
Jake Clifford.
Yeah, because Tom Duffy started the season and they were going like bastards. And then he came back into the fray and they pretty much won 4 and drawn 1 and lost 1.
Well, this is really interesting watch on the Cowboys now because, as we just said before, Tom Dearden moves from the 5'8", the real runner of the footy and the creator, to now into the 7 where he's got to organise and run the show. What's it going to be like? How's that going to affect his game? How's that going to affect the Cowboys?
Bit of a conspiracy theory here because DCE hasn't actually come out and said, I don't want to play Origin. But Molly, do you know something that we don't know? Is Dearden being shifted to the halves here in preparation for next week or what?
It could be. Yeah, it could be. But then I don't think Billy Slater can tell a coach what to do. And Todd Payton, one thing about him, I know Todd well, he's his own man. If Billy said, will you do this for me? He'd say no.
Yeah, what about Jackson Purdue, though? I find that interesting, not just dropping Clifford, but he's been crushing it in the centres.
But he is a 5'8" first, I think. He's a 5'8" through all juniors. And
well, I'm keen to see how he goes at the top level.
Well, don't forget, Tommy Dearden is the halfback.
Mm.
He was, I think he was Australian schoolboys, or he definitely came to the Broncos.
Australian schoolboys, Australian under-16s, all the way through.
Yeah, he's a halfback. So, I mean, it's just going to be really interesting to see how he handles it because he's had Chad Townsend, he's coming to grade,
Well, this is going to be DCE versus Dearden.
To be honest, now I sort of think about it, I reckon Billy will be getting the popcorn out and sitting in front of this one if he's not calling the game. And I reckon whoever gets the better of the other one might actually get the 7.
If Dearden crushes it, right, and the Cowboys win and make DCE look pedestrian.
I still would be very surprised if they leave DCE out. Just knowing how Queensland select teams, I'd be very, very surprised that he gets left out.
Oh, well, watch this space. Who are we locking in?
Oh, I'd lock in the Cowboys at home.
Molly?
Me on the same logic.
Yep, make it 3. Make it 3. In the final game, this is a cracker. Sharks versus Storm. I'm just coming straight out, guys. So Sharks are going to win this. They'll be too good for the Storm.
Molly, I got nothing, mate. That's why he's second last in the tipping comp, just quietly too. All right, I got nothing, Molly. What do you got? I can't go.
I've got
after
Harry Grant. And for that reason, Storm.
I know they won 64-0, but seriously.
Well, that can be to their detriment, can't it?
That's right.
They'll be walking around with big heads at training this week, thinking this is going to be easy again, and could come back to bite them.
Well, do the Sharks have anyone even playing Origin?
Looking through their team list now, no, they don't.
No, but they've got a lot of Kiwis and Islanders there who are Origin. You know, if Fanua Blake was a Queenslander or a Blue, he'd be in. If Ronaldo was, he might be in. You know, Will Kennedy should be in, but he won't be. He's playing as well as Tedesco.
Yeah, I'm going to tip the Storm, but I think this will be close. I think the home ground really brings the Sharks into play here. It's a real. I've actually never been to Shark Park, but from what I hear, it's a really sort of interesting place to play, and the fans really get behind their
Won't be
team.
many Storm fans there, put it that way.
No, yeah, and they really get. I mean, the one moment that sticks out for me is when the referee sin bin Cameron Smith at Shark Park that time. Remember that? And he copped an absolute spray as he was walking off. That was brilliant. But yeah, I think the Storm just because they're too professional, they just don't know how to lose in those close games.
What do you think of Molly?
Yep, as I said, Harry Grant, that'll do me. Storm.
Harry Grant, X Factor. He's back. Storm are winning that. All right. Well, I tell you what, we were talking about Adam O'Brien before. Dom Young. Trent Robinson's been very vocal this week. It's a bit of a shit show, really, isn't it? Adam O'Brien wants. Well, we don't really know what's happening. Do you know anything, Molly, on this one? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong?
Well, it's sort of he said, she said, isn't it? With the Roosters and Knights over Dom Young, who approached who. I'm led to believe that the Knights approached the Roosters and said, we wouldn't mind having him back. He's not in your team. Basically, reading between the lines, we can't score tries. He can score tries. He's from up here. But then, of course, it came down to the money situation where the Roosters said, okay, you can have him, but you're going to have to pay. And the Knights are obviously willing to pay some, but not all. And they're haggling over how much to pay. The same thing was going on, I think, with Souths and Brandon Smith. Some bizarre things happening at the Roosters. These are their two biggest signings the last 2 years, and they're cutting them both loose. It's
a bit like you, Molly. I sort of heard that his management after he got dropped sort of inquired to sort of Newcastle, and Newcastle were happy to have him back, but when they contacted the Roosters and the Roosters were happy to let him go, effectively, the Roosters thought they were letting him go and the Knights were going to pay the subsequent rest of his salary. Newcastle have said, no, you got to chip in. And then to the Roosters' credit, really, I mean, I don't like the Roosters, but to their credit, they've gone, well, hang on a sec. Well, why would we pay for him when he's not going to be at the club? If you want him, you pay for him. Simple as that. You know, if we're going to have to pay for him, why don't we just keep him? Because we were going to keep him anyway. So
there's one more injury, he'd be back in the side, wouldn't he?
Well, that's it, and that's where I think it stands. Like I really think, if anything, it just sums up the basket case that Newcastle is at the moment. I mean, seriously, what is going on with that joint? I mean, come on.
Can they afford him?
On the rest of his salary, I reckon they probably could.
Yeah, and I think we all know he's going to be there in 2 or 3 weeks. It's just a question of the haggling and who pays how much. You know, he's doing nothing at the Roosters. They're desperate at the Knights. It'll happen, but it's just the money.
So what are we thinking of the Roosters here? If we just sort of move away from Dom Young, they're going to let Dom Young walk. They're going to let they've let Brandon Smith go. Are they clearing the decks? And who are they clearing the decks for?
Well, DC's going there, I can tell you that. It's
The only
hasn't
other signings, Reece Robson.
formally announced, but he's going there, and he won't be on the money he's on at Manly, but he also won't come cheap. So
So
yeah.
why is he all of a sudden going to the why is he all of a sudden, I can't understand it, leaving a team that he's played with for what, 10, 15 years to sign maybe a 1 year deal at the Roosters? What's the theory there?
Well, I think it'll be a 2 year deal, and I think that is the issue that and it goes back way till last December. Now they kept it quiet this long, I don't know, but he told them then. I think they wanted him to take 1 year, he wanted two, and so he said, "Nope, I'm going."
So
And
Manly wouldn't come up the second year, is that what you're saying?
yeah, I think they
Yeah.
decided, he's the oldest bloke in the league, and his
He said
form
you can shove it.
his form hasn't been great. But yeah, it was again badly handled all round, I think. And he's on the move, and the Roosters will have him.
What
I can guarantee you.
what are we sort of, if you're Sam Walker, what are you sort of sitting back thinking if you're Sam Walker? I
I
know
think
he,
those two will be the
I
halves.
know he's going to play 5'8". Like I know he'll play 5'8". I get that, but you've kind of been earmarked. When he's played, he's been brilliant. He's just signed a huge deal. Would you? I don't understand how. I don't know
I,
how I'd
I,
feel if I was him.
I think if he's looking at a glass half full, a couple of years with one of the great halfbacks of the modern era would help his game. And then DC will march off into the sunset, and he'll be calling the shots. He's still a kid.
Well, I
Uh,
suppose yeah, you're right, mate. I suppose he hasn't really had a real senior sort of figure, has he? Sam Walker. It's just really he's just sort of
About Chad
learned on the
Townsend.
fly. No, yeah, yeah,
yeah, he
well,
had Luke Keary and uh, really DC Luke Keary. They're not dissimilar players. Both very smart footballers, good with the ball, good runners. So maybe
yeah.
he's thinking, and they did gel well together. So maybe he's thinking it'll be good for my footy.
So the Roosters are all in next year, aren't they? They're all in on a comp next year.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
much, yeah.
yeah. I
Next,
feel like I
well,
feel
if
like
they
they're
offer him
all.
1 or 2 years.
Yeah, I feel like they're all in on the comp next year. So they've almost got to win next year the comp. Otherwise, they could have put their progression of their younger players,
Yeah.
behind.
Surely they're looking at another 2 or 3 players. They've got to have money up their sleeve.
Yeah, I think they will. I think that they're going to clear the decks some more. I mean, they've got rid of two high price players this week, so there'll be more going for sure. There's still a bit of dead wood there, and they've got some good kids coming through. Like we see the games they win. These guys like Wong, some of the other young forwards.
Yeah,
Robert
Steep and
Robert
Nafatu
Toya's
White.
a good player. Um, the young halfback looks good. So, they got some players coming through for sure.
Yeah, it was
Here,
interesting. Brandon Smith's comments, on leaving, basically saying, geez, I hope they actually use my money to upgrade some of these younger boys' contract rather than giving them to DCE or, another marquee player. What
well,
do
Yeah,
you
and I can tell you those comments did not go down well with the Roosters.
Oh,
hence why
well,
hence why he's out the door.
he's gone.
Oh, yeah, here's one thing for you, and to the listeners. Name me one former Melbourne Storm player that's left the club playing really great football, gone to another club and excelled. Name me one.
That's a very good point, Dicko, and I often call it. I've actually called it the Storm syndrome.
Mm,
All these clubs buy Storm players thinking, gee, he's a good player.
mm.
And then they leave the Storm, go to the other club, and they're
They're
not the same
bastards.
player. There's
Mm.
very,
And,
very few I can
and
recall.
back the other way as well. Like, have a look at Elise Katoa and Sean Bloor.
Sean Bloor, yeah. Yeah.
Sean Bloor couldn't make the starting lineup at the Tigers.
Mm.
I couldn't
Yeah.
come up with one player. Like I'm thinking about it, I could not come up with one player that's left Melbourne and become a better player for leaving the Storm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think Jerome Hughes is in the top three players in the comp. He played one game for the Cowboys and got cut, played one game for the Titans and got cut, then was playing Q Cup for a couple of years, and then Bellamy said, we'll give this kid a run, and look what's happened. He's a brilliant player.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Isn't it crazy what some coaches see compared to others?
Yeah, that's right. There's a reason why
And that's
Bellamy's
why
the
they
best.
are where they are and where Bellamy is where he is.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, Sunday footy, gents, Broncos and Dragons. Now, before we preview this game, the Broncos, Dicko,
We really have to talk
they
about
were
this.
on a boat cruise before the game.
Yep.
Talk me through the mindset
That's a
of
storm. That's got to be one of the biggest storm in a teacups I've ever heard. Seriously.
was
I
it
mean,
before the like was it actually on the Friday on the
no, it was the night. It was the night before, and
still
it was, and I'll tell you exactly what it was because before we got on air, I was actually listening to it on NRL 360, and it was a boat cruise that he took them out on the boat.
this is
No,
mad.
yeah, match. No alcohol, no music. It was cruising around the harbour, and they got in a motivational speaker who had I can't remember exactly what Braith said on NRL 360, but he was some sort of sailor. He was a motivational speaker, and they got him to have a chat to the players. Obviously, Madge was trying to get them in the just trying a few different things, I suppose, to create culture and maybe change some things up, maybe trying to stimulate them a different way.
Geez, it worked.
And then subsequently in the post the game, the players have come out and said the preparation wasn't great.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So I mean, okay,
So,
where are we? Let's just.
so is the players on board with the Madge train?
I'm going to say not totally because I know, but yeah, not totally.
Molly?
Yeah, I agree. Not totally because, they've said the preparation wasn't great, which is a dig at the coach. But I also agree with Dicko. I think it's a storm in a teacup. I mean, you're allowed to not train your ass off every day, and Madge does train them hard. So I think he thought, oh, we'll do something different. We'll have a nice relaxing cruise. I mean, how that's going to make you play worse the next night, I can't see it.
Well, they clearly had sea legs, Molly.
Well, maybe they
Well,
want a wet track. I don't know.
Well,
was
what's the
not
difference
really
between a
similar,
boat
but-
cruise, mate? What's the difference between a boat cruise and going out for dinner with everyone at the pub? Is there
Exactly.
any difference?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I think it's, and I know you know
One's
him.
probably thousands of dollars and the other one's hundreds.
Well, that's right, and well, that's right. The players can afford it, and I know you know him, Molly, but Buzz Rothfield, he doesn't miss an opportunity to stick the knife into the Broncos. So he'll come up with anything that's going to tear that club apart. So I thought it was just the biggest storm in a teacup, and it would never be spoken about if they won.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So again,
I agree.
players need lives outside of football and need some different things, and he's trying some different things.
Well, let's talk about where the Broncos are actually at, because against Penrith, the first 20 minutes, they were all guns blazing all over Penrith, right? And lost significantly. They're the same thing against the Rabbitohs. Like after those first 20 minutes, they haven't scored a point in the last two games.
Mate, where they're at, they've lost the last two second halves 52-8. Right. Where they're at is that the 17 players who run out with a Broncos jersey on need to have a good hard look at themselves in the mirror, because the shit they're dishing up is at times awful. They look like in attack, half the time they look like they've never played it or seen each other ever before. And it's a classic case. And you'll hear me say this a lot. You've got 17 individuals pulling in a different direction to what the team's going. There's not one doesn't seem like there's one person out there leading them around.
And the reason I think we're right to be so critical of them is there's 17 very good players. I mean, half of them are Origin players, and the other half are very good first graders. They should be leading the comp with that roster.
I mean, last week we all said, oh, Bronx should come out and smash the Rabbits. And at 14-0, you thought that was exactly what's going to happen. What are they going to do the same this week? Because they could smash the Dragons.
I mean, I do want to give credit to the Rabbitohs. I thought the Rabbitohs were really tough and played a really tough brand of footy. And I think Corey Parker said it really well on SEN radio this morning when I was driving to work. He said he has no doubt the Broncos think they have to win by 30 instead of just winning. no matter how it is. And
I had 9 line breaks to 3 and lost.
And I kind of agree with him in terms of that. Brisbane, I feel like Brisbane aren't prepared to get down in the trench and be ready to win the game in the 79th minute. They want to win the game early with flashy plays and brilliance and then switch off and go home early. And you just can't do that in the NRL. You can't. No lead is safe, as we've seen anymore. No lead's safe. Canberra up 20-0 got beaten. No lead is safe in the comp. So
up 20-0.
And then I cannot believe that Maguire only made one forced change this week. I would have dropped half the team because I really think they need a wake-up call, some of these players, because they're not performing. And it's really frustrating as a supporter. And, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how he's going to fix it. I really don't. Like, if he's getting pushback already, we're only in round, 11?
Well,
So
they're probably
I
lucky
don't
they're
know.
playing the Dragons, and I don't think any of us are silly enough to dip the Dragons. So this might be the game that gets them back in the form. Who knows?
I can't believe the Broncos are paying $1.29 to beat the Dragons here. Seriously. Have the bookies not watched the Bronx for the last 2 weeks? Jesus.
Have you watched the Dragons?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they're horrid. They're horrid. They are horrid. But shout out to Latrell Mitchell. How good was his 2 try savers on Payne Haas and Dean Mariner?
Yeah.
Mate, how
And
good
he's
was his
not
field goal?
renowned as a try saver. He's renowned as a scorer and a bloke who'll be a bit lazy in defence. But
Yeah.
I think it's the best game I've seen him play.
Genuine question though. That try at the end, is that on? Is that
I've got really strong views on this. I'm interested to see what you boys say.
I
I'm
posed
right
a
off
question straight after the game. I thought it was a little bit sneaky, a little bit cheeky, and just unnecessary. And
Yeah.
he sort of went to go down on one knee as if to, don't smash me, blokes. And the Broncos did the right thing. They didn't smash him. And then next moment he's up and scoring and jumping up and down. I didn't like it, I've got to say.
No, I think it was
thumbs down.
I think it was very ordinary. The referee shouldn't have allowed it because my issue is actually not him doing it because it's within the rules. It was poor from Brisbane. Play until the whistle goes is what the coach says in under 7s, right? But my issue is what happens if Payne Haas absolutely levels him when he takes a knee? What happens then? You know what I mean? Like Payne Haas levels him. Everyone gets up. There's a push and shove. You probably give away a penalty, yet Latrell's allowed to just do that. I thought it was very ordinary and shouldn't have been allowed by the ref. The ref just should have said, you know what, Latrell, go back, play the ball full time. Well done, you won.
Yep, agreed.
Are we happy with what do you think on Ezra? Ezra coming straight back in. Think he would have come back in regardless of the Ben Hunt injury? What do we think?
I reckon he would have been another week or two. He wouldn't have dropped Hunt. And Ezra was apparently pretty good in a big
excellent.
win in Q Cup.
Yeah, he was
I
excellent.
think he might have been on the bench, maybe. And potentially
maybe
used
ease him
off
back.
the bench. But
I think he would have given him another week in Cup.
Yeah.
But what gives me confidence is the weekend showed that he was ready to come straight back in.
oh yeah, big time.
And
Do you know what? Ben Hunt, when he comes back from injury, depending on how Billy Walters goes, because I think Ezra Mam's going to crush it, right?
Yeah.
He's obviously not going to come back in at 5'8", is he?
Who?
He's
Ben
gonna
Hunt.
come back
No,
in
he'll be a
at
9. He'll be 9, mate.
straight back in.
We need him at 9. Yep, straight back in. So, yeah, easy, straight back in.
Not 14, bit of versatility off the bench.
No. Billy Walters will go to 14. And we can finally have a hooker that actually does something with the ball instead of just standing there and passing it. It's half our problem. Anyway, Next game, please. No, I think Madge Maguire, sorry, before I was just about to say this, I think Maguire was never going to bring Ezra Mam back in unless they were playing at home. I will say that. His first game, I think Madge always had him penciled in for a home game purely because he was worried.
He got booed at home when his face was on the big screen.
Yeah, I was there. It was actually, it wasn't the Brisbane fans that were booing him, no, Mole. It was the opposition.
Might have been one or two.
Oh, it could have been 1 or 2. You're right. Yep. But no, I think he was always going to be brought in back on a home game.
Yeah.
So anyway,
good point.
Raiders versus Titans, guys. Raiders coming off a very disappointing loss, as we spoke about, with the Bulldogs scoring 32 points on them in the second half to zip. Titans, on the other hand, won their second half 24 zip against, well, Well, they beat the Knights, but at least they won a game, right? They snapped a 5-game losing streak. Is there any hope here for the Titans?
Kieran Foran's back.
Mm.
Is there any hope for the Titans? I don't know, Molly. What do you think?
Yeah, look, the Titans are the sort of team, and I've said it on here before. Once every 6 weeks, they'll beat anyone. But I think they've had that one game last week. So using that logic, no chance.
Yeah. Do we think Canberra are gonna two home games in a row?
I think Canberra again, isn't it?
Yeah. Do we feel like Canberra are gonna let this one slip like they did against the Bulldogs? I don't think so. I think Ricky would have drilled them in.
I reckon this might be a bit of a cricket score in the way of Canberra's favour.
And I feel like last week was a little bit of a wake-up call for the Raiders. Just, yeah, you beat Melbourne and you're going well, but, you're still not probably where you want to get to. So, yeah.
They only played each other a few weeks back.
The draws are, mate, seriously.
It was round 7. They're playing each other again in round 11. That's piss take.
I exchanged text messages with Ricky the other night. We're old mates, and I can't say what was.
Come on, Molly, give us a sneak peek.
But he's not happy. How could he put it that way?
Yeah, look, I don't know if you recall back to the game when they played each other a couple of weeks back. The Raiders started that slow and still won by 10. So if they start this game fast, it could be anything, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. I think Raiders easy.
Now this one, this could be interesting. How are the Tigers going to bounce back against the Rabbitohs? And can the Rabbitohs put in another good performance? Geez.
I'm just looking at their team.
This is a tough one to pick.
Well, Benji's done very little, hasn't he? He hasn't made many changes as far as I could see.
Well, I don't know if he's got anyone at his disposal to make changes with. Does he?
Yeah, but sometimes, like you said before, you've just got to make changes for the sake of it.
Yeah, true.
64-0, it's just embarrassing. And some of those blokes just stop trying. And when it gets to that stage, I thought it would be a 60-point game in Melbourne, I've got to say, but I thought it'd be 40-20. I didn't think it'd be 64-0 because Tigers have got points in them.
Yeah, you're right.
Buller, Galvin, these guys know how to score points, but it just never even looked like happening. So, I think he needed to do something, Benji, to send him a message. And, it hasn't happened. So I guess the players know this week it won't be tolerated another disgraceful performance. I think you got to go south. So, I mean, Latrell, the way he's going, he'll beat him on his own.
Yeah, you're right. And he'll want to really stake his claim for an origin position for sure. It's at Campbelltown. Does that sway us at all to the Tigers?
Campbelltown's a bit like Shark Park, like Leichhardt, like Brookvale. These little home grounds, they affect the refs, the again calls, the close forward passes calls, the penalties, they just all seem to favour the home teams. Whereas you go to Homebush and there's 10,000 people there, they're all a long way from the atmosphere. The home crowd's just not the same. So it's a 10-point factor for sure.
And I hope the Tigers bounce back, but
I think they'll bounce back. I don't think this will be a lay down in the Zaire for either team. I think it'll be a good game. Benji doesn't have a front rower on the bench. Oh no, he's got Fainu. He's a prop. So he obviously expects May to go the 80 every week. I tell you, that's a big effort from the big fella. So no, I think South will just be a little bit too professional and just get this. But I do think it'll be close. I don't think either team will run away with this. I think South's just.
Yeah, I think Tigers are a race. I think they're a bit of a basket case right now, and with all the Galvin stuff, with the Luai stuff this week. Is he staying? Is he going? Is he going to exercise that clause? I don't think they're a happy camp, and Souths are buzzing, and they're starting to get players back. The Bunnies for me.
I must admit, if Jerome Luai leaves, pretty ordinary bloke. Seriously, what did he think was going to happen by signing with the Tigers? Did he think he was going to turn him into the second best NRL team of the modern era within 1 year? Very ordinary. I thought that was really ordinary from I'm not a huge fan of family members getting involved in players' business, a la Lockie Galvin's father as well, Kalen Ponga's. I'm not a big fan of that.
Could be a
Like,
bit of trend.
yeah, I don't. Jerome may not know anything. Well, he would know about it, but he may not have. He may have a completely different feeling to his old man. But I just think if he jumps ship now, it's very ordinary from him. Because what did he think when he signed with them? Like, did he think that they were going to turn around immediately? Surely not.
Well, his old man's obviously got rocks in his head for posting it for a start.
Yeah, yeah. And there's an update to that. Mrs. Luai has banned Mr. Luai from social media. So there'll be no more of that.
No more of that. Well, thanks very much, gentlemen. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and all the best for this weekend.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.